All right, welcome to the last chunk. Let's see some darn questions already. So what we want to do is we want to use JavaScript and kind of dynamically make our HTML based on the data that we're getting from the question. So we want to basically reproduce what Jinja does very well, right? So jQuery doesn't have like a really nice templating system. Some frameworks do, but there's some nice tricks that you can do for using jQuery. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go into the quiz question controller and find this area and the to-do. So I'm just going to go and open up the quiz question controller, and I'm going to look around for to-dos in this area. So the first to-do I found here is on quiz content. So the way this works, let's just kind of go look at, we'll cheat and just kind of look at the solution again on FisherDS. So if I say inspect element over here, I can see that the structure of this page is such that I've got a quiz container, and then inside the quiz container, I've got a whole bunch of questions, right? And these questions are actually in a div. And so the idea is I'm going to create a div, I'm going to add question to it after question to it, and then I'm going to take that div and I'm going to stick it inside the question container. So the real trick is, how do you create all this? Like, it's a bunch of HTML, right? How do you create all this and set all the values on it from inside JavaScript? And that's what we're going to do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a div that we can start appending questions to. And the way you do that is actually comically simple. You create a jQuery object, but instead of passing in a CSS selector, we're going to pass in div. jQuery is smart enough to know, hey, this person is not trying to find something, they're trying to create something. So what this does is it creates a new div for you that is not currently attached to the DOM, right? And what we're going to do with that, we've got this content, is we're going to create questions. So we've got this helper function, create new question, which we've got to write. And it's going to create a new question, and then we're going to append that question to the question content. So we say question, append to question content. We loop through however many times we need to do that. If there are 20 questions, we do it 20 times. Once we're done, we take that question content and we write it as the HTML for the question container. Technically, I could have done this with one fewer div, but I was happy with how the solution came out this way. So that's the way we're going to do it. So we've shown you one way to create things, and that's by just creating it right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to show you another one with a trick called clone. So before I show you clone, let's go look at the HTML. And what we're actually doing in here is here's the question container I was telling you about. And then right below that question container, I've done something sneaky. I've added a template, which is hidden. So I call it question template. It's got a spot where you can put the quote. So if you wanted to put the quote in here, you could totally do that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be writing quotes into there. It's got a question that says, what movie does this come from? And then after that, it's got 4 radio buttons, right? So the radio buttons are right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this template, clone it, remove the word hidden, fill it out with values, and then append it to the HTML. And we're going to do that over and over. So we're never going to modify our template. We're just going to clone it, modify that clone, and then stick that in. So let's go make those things actually happen. So if we go back into our quiz question controller, we go into our create new questions, which is down here. You can see that what we're doing is we're creating a question which is currently undefined, and then once it exists, I've already got the code present to go through and populate the values. We've just got to finish this to do and actually clone this thing. So what I want to do is I want to find the question template, $ question template. So there I found it, and then I want to do .clone. So .clone is really powerful in this case. It made a copy of it, right? And then I'm going to kind of follow the advice that my comment told me to do here. So I want to set the ID. So the way you set the ID is by setting an attribute. So I'm going to set the ID attribute to something. What it wants me to set the ID to is question and then question number. And so that's going to set the ID on all these. And if you remember looking back at the solution, you can see that it had an ID on all these different questions, right? So that was one of the things that it did. And another thing we need to do is we need to remove the class hidden, because if it's hidden, that doesn't do much. So we'll just say remove class hidden. And then at this point, we're ready to start populating it with values. And to be honest, that part is already done. So all we had to do is we had to clone it, set the ID on it, which I chose to do up here, remove the class hidden. This stuff is going to set the values on it. When it's passed back up, it's going to get appended to that temporary div, and then that temporary div is going to become the HTML for the question container. So if it works, I mean, we should be completely done, which is kind of crazy. So sure enough, I refreshed the page, and there was a slight pause. You can see there's a slight pause where there's nothing, and then bam, the questions come in. If you want to check your logs, the only thing that should be in them is the JSON reply. You should be able to do things like changing the number of questions. That should already work fine. And if you try to, answer questions, if you get it right, so this one's from Chinatown, it should make a little ding noise, which I might not be capturing my audio right now. But you should be able to click on these things, and anyone that's right, you should be able to get a green mark for correct. Man, I can't get that one wrong though. And then if you get it wrong, it should give you a red, you just got it wrong. If you're scrolled to the bottom of the page and you click on new questions, it should scroll you up to the top once those new questions come in. And then you can also see that, like on the side, it should be giving you a score for how you're doing that round, right? So I got 1 out of 5 that round, and I can see my total. You can also do things like resetting your stats, and then it'll reset your lifetime stats, and then you can get back to 100%. That's actually it. So it was kind of, didn't see anything, and then you're done, right? But if you're taking this class for credit, I do want to make sure that you were able to follow along with these steps, and you were able to add the little pieces that I wanted us to add. And then there's a place where you can actually submit on the last slide. So if you're taking it for credit, make sure you go ahead and submit your movie quotes quiz URL. All right, that's it for our walkthrough of a real application that uses Ajax. See you next time. Bye.